Hey y'all, it's your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, and I finally decided to roll out Storytime. I'm calling it Sidebar. So here's my first story time. It's the story of how I fell in love with an international drug dealer. Hope you like it. Leave your comments below and check out my page, Girl, Is That Legal, on YouTube for more content. So this is a story of how I fell in love with an international drug dealer and had an affair with a little drug lord. All right, so I was minding my business in a third world country. I was prancing around the beach of Jamaica, Montego Bay, when I see this guy and I'm like, oh, he is so handsome. And he's with a group of other guys. So I just prance around with my little girlfriends. And whenever I want to meet like a new guy, especially if I'm traveling, my international pickup line is as follows. Hey, y'all. So I always do, hey y'all, because hey y'all is like, it's like a greeting, it's pleasant, and you can't really get rejected from a hey y'all, you know? It's like, it's like hello. And so I said, hey y'all, and they go, hello, hello. They were British. And so I was like, well, what brought you gentlemen to town? This is Montego Bay, Jamaica, mind you. Like, I'm really acting like I know where I'm at and whatever. I'm there for a wedding. So I'm like, oh, what brought you boys to town? And they're like, oh, we're here on holiday. And it's like 5 of them, right? Good looking, all black eyes. And the one that I like, he looks so like, oh, he looked like mysterious and stuff. He got a little hat on and stuff. And, you know, they're European. And he was like, oh, what's your name? And I introduced, I was like, oh, I'm Simona. Because whenever I travel internationally, I'm Simona because a lot of people don't know how to pronounce Simone properly. So I'm like, oh, I'm Simona. So I was like, well, what are you? I said, oh, how long have you guys been here? Because I had only been there for like 2 or 3 days and was leaving soon. They were like, oh, we've been here for 2 weeks. I was like, 2 weeks? I said, well, what do you guys do? And they're like, we work for ourselves. I was like, damn, y'all must sell some real good drugs. And then they looked at each other and they busted out laughing. And I was like, kind of serious, but kind of not. Because I'm like, this was the month of February. And I'm like, who can just take 2 weeks of holiday in the middle of the year? Because see, in their culture, you take holiday generally in the summer. So like middle of the year, you're 2 weeks off. Y'all are some fine black men on the beach of Jamaica. Y'all probably like, you know, lift a little weight or whatever they call it. I don't know. I never, mind you, I went to Catholic school. My first boyfriend is like a doctor and all that stuff. So like I never had a thug stage. So this was it. So we exchanged numbers. And he was like, oh, would you like something to drink? So we walk over to the beach bar. And I was like, sure. And he gets up and girl, he got all these coochie cutters. I was like, oh, I see you with them coochie cutters. He was like, what? I was like, coochie cut, like, and I was like coochie cutters. He didn't know what I was talking about, but he thought everything I said was funny due to the fact that I have this big old accent, right? So we have a good time. And then he's like, hey, well, our apartment is over here. We have more drinks. We're going to be vibing out. What do they call it? Liming, something like that. We're going to go over there and hang out. I was like, cool. So me and my girl, we go over and we hang out at their apartment. It was basic. I mean, it looked totally like a drug dealer's pad. You know, it had that each has separate rooms. It was cool. So I go over there. Like, I don't really know what he does, but I really don't care because he's buying drinks. He ain't asking me for shit. And at this point, you know, I've dealt with some real regulars. This was like, I'm not even going to say what year it was because I don't want people to know who this person was. Bless his little heart. But I was dealing with some like real questionable men at this point. Questionable from the perspective of like character, not other areas. So I go, we hang out at the room and they're like, yeah, let's go out later tonight. And I was like, cool, sure. So we link up. And now all of the guys, now one of the guys is supposed to be a paparazzi over there in London. Like none of their jobs are like real jobs. Mind you, one of them now, should I say this? One of them now is like a big time podcaster in Great Britain. And like he was caught with like 10 kilos or something like that of weed going in between countries. I don't want to say too much because it's Googleable. And so like all I'm saying is like this is what they all do. All right. So we're hanging out. We're having a good time. He asked me to go out later. We meet. We go to the club later. And then he's coming back to the room. He comes back. We have a great time. And he's just like, this is wonderful. So I'm the queen of background checks. So before I go out with him though, I said, hey babe, I need to take a picture of your ID and I'm going to send it to my girlfriends. That way ain't going to be no Natalie Holloway over here. Okay. I'm not going to come up missing. That way, if I come up missing, my girlfriends will be like, oh, she was with so-and-so. So he's like, oh, that's weird. We don't really do that in my country, but okay. So he let me take a picture of his ID. So that made me think maybe he's not so much of a drug dealer because like drug dealers don't really like you to know their identity, but whatevs. Also, when I told him, when he asked me what I did and I said lawyer, they were like, oh, and they all dapped each other up. They were like, oh, we might need you. And I'm like, oh, okay. What for? Interesting. But they were all cool. I was with my girls initially. I was with one of my homegirls when I was hanging out with them at their apartment. I was never by myself. But that night, he wanted to go to the club, us two. So that's where took a picture of the ID, gave it to my homegirls, right? So we go out to the club. I bring him back to my Airbnb. And he hangs out, he stays there and everything. And my girls were like, oh, so how was it? I was like, oh my gosh, girls, he was amazing. He was so sweet. He was all this great stuff. So I then do the background. I was having so much fun. I didn't do the background check beforehand. I do the background check after he's left, and I'm like, ah! An article comes up. This article says that at age 17, he was caught with 50,000 pounds worth of crack cocaine and heroin. 50,000 pounds. So I holler, I do the background check. I'm looking at it on my phone, and I'm like, ah! And my homegirls that I'm with the Airbnb, they're like, what is it? What is it? And I was like, oh my God, this article says at age 17, he was caught with 50,000 pounds of crack cocaine and heroin. And I was like, oh my God, what amazing leadership skills. If that's the kind of weight he was moving at 17, he should have a conglomerate at this point. I was so excited for his potential growth. I was like, oh my gosh, hopefully he's like legit now. We can put that money in Bitcoin. There's so much we can do. We can buy properties. I've always wanted a Miami property. And my homegirl listened to me. She's like, bitch, what is wrong with you? You had this criminal in our Airbnb. I was like, well, technically he's not a criminal anymore. That occurred when he was 17. And mind you, part of the reason the article was the big art, mind you, all I did was Google his name. And this was like a big deal because apparently when he got sentenced, now he only got sentenced to 2 years. That's a good little amount of time. Like, you're not even gay yet. Like, if you're not gay when you go, if you can do 2 years without gayness. But when we get into like the double digits, like if he had been in there like 10 years, 7, 8 years, I'd be like, oh, he's probably like 49% gay. Which, if you know me, I'm okay. I need you to be like 32% gay or less. Like my gaydar, like don't like 32 or less. Because as we know, I used to date one of Diddy's sex workers. That was a guy. Anyway, so my girlfriends are like, why did you bring this man to our place knowing good and well that he has, I was like, well, I didn't know. I didn't Google him until after. But guys, you're looking at it wrong. Like, we need to look at this with the glass half full. We need to look at it with the Bentley half full. Okay. We need to look at it with the cash paid off flats half full flats. That's what they live in over there. So I was like, it's fine, guys. It's fine. Like, we're having a love affair. It's totally fine. He sold those drugs at 17. Part of the reason it was all in the article, it was because when he got his sentence, he was only sentenced to 2 years. He and his homeboy busted out laughing in the courtroom and started high-fiving each other. He was silly, but he was only 17. So it's fine. It's fine. So then we kept in touch. So then I had to leave and I was like, oh my gosh, when am I going to see you again? He's like, well, I want to see you as soon as possible. I'll send for you to come visit me in London. So I was like, yes, boo. I was like, I own my own business. I have my own firm. So not only can I see you whenever, but, I'm like the cutest little tax deduction you ever gonna meet, boo. Because you could take me on a trip and you could write me off as a legal expense. Ow. He was like, oh, I love the way you think. I was like, yeah, because, I want to make sure he can get and stay legit. So my assumption, he's totally legit or we will be fine. So, baby, I met him. That was Saturday that I met him on the beach. Sunday, we had our little rendezvous. I left Monday. Baby, please tell me, we was on that phone, boo caking every day. Valentine's Day was that Thursday. He sent me a bouquet of flowers that arrived Wednesday and a ticket to London, baby. I said, I'm going, tell it who. So I got on that plane, baby. I went to London. Let me tell you something. It was really, this trip was dangerous because I made some bad decisions. So I get to the airport, the flight is smooth. when I land in London, the line for like immigration and stuff is so long. Now, I used to live in London. I lived there for like 6 months for study abroad, and I know they racist over there. And I'm watching people skip the line, skip the line, skip, and all these people are white. So I tapped one of them little airline workers at the immigration. I said, "How come they get to skip me?" She said, "Oh, because those are families. Families are allowed to skip the line." Baby, I told him my back up like this. I said, "Well, I'm pregnant. Can I skip the line?" Because it was taking a long time and my baby was missing me. Okay. I had landed on that plane and he was missing me. So he kept saying, like, he was waiting for me on the other side. And he was like, "Hey, are you coming? Are you coming? Like, what's taking so long?" So I told that immigration, I was like, "Well, I'm pregnant. Can I go through the family line?" They were like, "Yeah, cut the line, baby." I cut about an hour from my immigration wait. The only thing I was nervous about, I was like, "Oh God, I don't want karma to make me pregnant for real with this international stranger." So that's neither here nor there. I get through. He's waiting for me. He hugs me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Okay, where are we staying?" Because I know he lives in the outskirts. I won't say where because if you know him, you know. But he lives in the outskirts. But he flew it. He got a room for us special in London. Like it was a really cool hotel in London. And then he got us a rental. He was like, "Oh, yeah, I had to switch out the rental." So I'm piecing this stuff together, like switch out the rental. Now, what he tells me he does for a living, by the way, he tells me he's in construction. He does contracting. He fixes up and flips properties. Now, if you ever, especially if you ever meet men in Atlanta, you know that is one of the things that men tell you that they do when they really just sell drugs, because you get fewer questions. People are like, "Oh, real estate, great." So he was like, "I'm in real estate." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Whatever. You're paying for everything. I'm coming," right? At this point, I have his address. My friends back home know where I'm at. Baby, I'm having the time of my life. I'm posting hashtag 90 Day Fiance. He's taking me out. We going places. But he keeps switching out his rental. And I'm overhearing some conversations. And I'm like, okay. He's switching out the rental. He switched out the rental like I'm there for a week. He switched out the rental like twice. Like, interesting. Then we go link up with his homeboys that from Jamaica that we seen in Jamaica, all of whom were on holiday in the middle of February. And one of them live in the projects, but the projects in London are nice. Literally, the project looks like a brownstone. But I'm like, I think this is the projects. Just because, like, you can see the accoutrements. Like, it wasn't no granite countertops or nothing like that. I said, I think we're in the projects. But it was nice projects, but that makes sense. Like, drug dealers live in projects so they can just maintain their territory. That's what I learned from BMF and Power. And so I was like, oh gosh, really? I am okay. All right. So I was like, okay, so his boys are okay. But one of the boys said he was like a soccer coach or something like that. So I was like, oh, okay, that's probably why you're poor. Now, I also realized it was probably the projects because there was like a sign as you enter that said this building is owned by the government of something, 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 the ministry of something, something for poor people. I don't really know what it was called. Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah. So I was like, I think I'm in the projects. Well, this is like a little cultural visit. You know, he took me out to eat. We went to these nice places. But then one of the night, apparently, because he had spent this time with me. So then we get to like Saturday night. He spent this time with me, and apparently, back where he lives, because he doesn't live in London. He lived in like some other town that's like hours away. He had someone that was covering his route, so to speak, route. And somebody didn't do a drop off properly. So I hear him like cussing and fussing somebody out. And I'm supposed to be in the shower. So he waits till I'm in the shower. He's cussing and fussing this person out. I'm like, oh my was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, you cost me thousands. I need this connect and blah, blah, blah. You said you were going to do, and he's going off, boo, like off. And I was like, oh my God, this doesn't sound like the construction worker I thought I was falling in love with. But that's neither here nor there. Now, mind you, so they work that out. He takes me out. We're going out. I'm sending pictures to my girls back home. Like, oh my gosh. And when I tell you this man is fine, he is fine. Okay. He's so good. He's like, I like men with good bone structure. Does he have it? Yes. He had nice bone structure, because good bone structure, when a guy has good bone structure, what it means is like a nice nose, chiseled face, like nice features. I think of Tyson Beckford, Tay Diggs, Morris Chestnut. That's good bone structure. And you want that because everybody gets fat one day. And then that way, if he gets fat on you or something, he'll look like cute little Teddy Ruxpin. Okay, like Teddy Ruxpin. Google it if you don't know about him. He's like a little doll from our childhood, as opposed to you rolling over looking at this little mongrel who's probably gonna get older, gonna get cranky, gonna do all these things. I'm like, I don't want you. This guy had excellent bone structure. He was so handsome. So I'm sending pictures to my girl Whitney. I grew up with from San Antonio. Girl, Whitney is a fool. And Whitney was like, oh my God, girl, he's fine. She go, girl, he fine. Get pregnant by him. I'm like, Whitney, I cannot do that. His wages aren't even garnishable. So like this whole time, like I'm enjoying myself, and I'm really like, but I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit because at this point I'm in my mid 30s, early 30s, and I don't have any children. But I'm like, seriously, I'm not about to get pregnant by nobody's wages. I can't garnish. Like it'd be bad enough to be a single mom, but then to be a single mom and poor, running around like I can't even take trips and cruises and stuff because I can't even go down to the courthouse and get a little this or that from your employer. Why? Because you're an international drug dealer. You don't have one. You're self-employed. No, my kids are going to have to go to underfunded public schools running around with you. So then the next day I went and I bought a Plan B because I thought about what she said and she was right. Well, apparently over there, and I was like, okay, how does this even work? He was like, don't worry, darling. I'll get it for you. He talks like that, but like it's like hood too, so I can't really emulate it. So he runs down and he tries to get me the Plan B. He was like, well, what kind do you want? I was like, I don't know, the kind that works on Americans. So he's like, I don't think it works that way. But I take the Plan B, I pop it, because again, I am terrified because I done lied at the airport. I done skipped the regular line to be in the family line. I done lied at the airport, told these people I was pregnant. Then I'm running around with this international drug dealer, letting him love on me because Marlon let my dumb friend convince me that maybe I should let him get me pregnant a little bit because I don't have anything better to do. And at this point, I'm like a good 34. I don't know what time. So anyway, I take the Plan B and all is well. Okay. We have a great trip. He gets a little too high that night and tells me he loves me, but I loved it. I liked it. When he sobered up, I was like, oh my gosh, babe. So let's talk about our conversation last night. He was like, what conversation? And I was like, when you told me you loved me? He was like, I never said that. I was like, yes, you did. You were on drugs a little bit. He was like, stop saying that. It's weed. It's a spliff. Because like, it's a spliff. It's a spliff. It's not drugs. It's not drugs. And I was like, okay, well, whatever it was, it made you tell me you love me. And I said, well, I'm not there yet, but I just love the progress of where we're going. So I can't wait to talk about, you coming to visit me and everything in America. It's going to be great. So, wait a minute. Somebody said I'm openly admitted to being engaged in S trafficking. Oh no, he didn't traffic anything. I was there voluntarily, baby. I busted it wide open, threw it in a circle, threw it back, forward, left, right, side to side. There was no trafficking. If anything, I was a trafficker because I definitely tried to get that dick on a plane to come visit me in Dallas. That's neither here nor there. So we had a great trip. I was like so invigorated. I was like, this is great. And I was like, well, let's talk about your construction business. Like, I am really 90-day fianceing this bitch. Okay. I'm like, what can we do to get you in America? I'm so excited. When are you going to come visit? He was like, we'll talk about that when you get back. Let's just enjoy each other. Cool. We're enjoying each other. We get on back. And now I'm like, all right, I saw how concretely and quickly he planned for me to visit him. I met him on a Saturday. We hung out Saturday, Sunday. I left Monday. He had me a ticket. I think it was Tuesday. I flew out Thursday. Like he was on it. And this was for Valentine's Day. It was the best Valentine's ever. So I get home, everything was great. I think everything is smoothed over, I guess, with his delivery guy. Now, I will say this. I did have concerns. Part of the other reason why I didn't want to let him impregnate me with, the non-garnishable wages and all, is I was like, well, what do you actually do? Like, I need you to have a stable job and income. Now, if you want to come over to America and like flip houses or something, we could do that because I could set you up with excellent credit, boo-boo, right? I can get you some good credit because you ain't even over here. Get you a little social security number type thing. Don't worry about it. I know how to do it. I was like, okay, we'll be fine. But I was like, but I just want to make sure you're totally good with being legit. Because he never like acknowledged what he was doing, but I put it all together. See, the reason he kept switching out the rentals is so the popos wouldn't figure it out. Okay. And then he kept me in a hotel so that he didn't have me around his product. Oh my God, y'all, that's love. That's love. When a drug dealer loves you, he's not about to have you up in the trap house. Ew, ew. When a drug dealer loves you, he's going to protect and provide. Okay? Just, you know what I mean. Protect and provide and not put you in no mess. Okay. So I really appreciate it. He kept me up in this nice London hotel. He had switched out his rental cars. My biggest concern was I just felt like, you've been selling drugs since you were 17. At 17, you were arrested for, having 50,000 pounds of crack cocaine and heroin. I just feel like at 32, your business plan should be more elevated. You know, perhaps use the dark web, maybe only accept Bitcoin. I'm not sure, but I just felt like, because he was not a homeowner, I checked. I like, what are the assets that we have to show for this? Because if any given day, the, British feds, whatever they're called, if they're called and we have to get you, a lawyer, because it's not going to be me, boo boo. It's not going to be me. I need to know that there are assets that can be sold. You have rentals, your apartment's a rental. These are my concerns. Okay. These are my concerns. So anyhow, I come on back, but I'm like, we can come up with a business plan. You're going to come to America and be legit, because I don't play that. You can flip houses in America. You can have your little drug dealers buy the houses on Bitcoin. You could do that now. And then at the time, there was no governmental questions on where the money came from. That was not my business. Not my business. Not my circus. So he was supposed to come visit me. And he's kind of like slow rolling it. I was like, I thought we had a good trip. Like, what's taking so? It's like 2 weeks in. And I was like, so babe, what's the deal? How come you don't want to buy a ticket? Come visit. He was like, so about that. So the thing of it is, and this is while Trump was president, he was like, the thing of it is that I'm not allowed to come to America right now. I was like, why? He was like, well, I'm on probation. I said, for what? He was like, well, this dude stepped to me. He doesn't talk like that, but he was like, basically, the charge was having a bladed receptacle. So it was having a knife. So you know how like we would get charged with, felon in possession for having a gun. His was a knife, and he's not allowed in the United States of America. I said, well, hold on. Let me look this up, right? Because I had concerns. I was like, we had this whole love affair. I almost let you give me a baby with ungarnishable wages. Like, and this is why Jesus told me, don't let this man impregnate you. Take this plan B. Jesus gave me that plan B, by the way. That's how that worked out. Because Jesus knew, he's not even allowed over your country. He'll never see your baby. Your baby will really be a pastor. I don't like to say a pastor. He won't, I'll have to, literally, I'll take one of my gay homeboys and lie to this baby and be like, this your daddy. Your daddy is like gay a little bit, but he loves you all the way. And that's what it will happen. Me and my gay homeboy, we will co-parent. That's what'll happen, because I can't do this by myself. So he's telling me, I said, well, what is this for? So I look it up, and it's technically a misdemeanor. I was like, well, baby, it's a misdemeanor. And whatever the felony that you had, it's been over 10 years. He was like, yeah, but my homeboy, he got a charge like this, flew all the way to America. When he was trying to go through customs, they sent his butt right back. I don't want to risk it. He was like, because I'm still on probation. I was like, baby, what? Why did you do me like this? You wasted my whole time. But then it was a free trip, and I really enjoyed it. Plus, he let me go shopping, took me shopping and stuff like that. So then I thought about it. I was like, this is my penance. Jesus is punishing me. Yes, I'm Jesus's favorite sinner, but clearly he's sick of my antics, because he's clearly punishing me for running around with this fool internationally, having an international love affair with this drug dealer who I know good and well will never develop the type of business plan that I'm looking for in a husband, so to speak. And so ultimately, our love affair did end at that point. But once I confirmed he is not allowed in America to this day. He has not set foot on U.S. soil. Now, he go to Ibiza. He'll go over there to the Ibiza. He'll go to the Canary Islands. They love him in Ghana. He'll go all the way over there. But the United States of America, he's too scared to come because he can't get the paper clearance. So the moral of the story is, do not get pregnant by nobody whose wages you cannot garnish. And don't fall in love with an international drug dealer, no matter how cute his bone structure is. Yes. I do still check. We still follow each other. Somebody, okay, so I'll answer questions about the story time. This is my first live story time. But yeah, somebody said, don't tell me you still check up. I sure do. And I'm friends with his friends. Like I said, they have a really good podcast. I'm gonna see next time I go to London. I'm gonna see if I can be on their podcast, but then I hope it don't give it away. Yeah, I check up on him. He's not aged so gracefully. I think he started doing some of the drugs a little bit. Oh God, I don't want to hear this. Like when I say not aged so gracefully, he looks really stressed and tired. He might have just had a bad girlfriend at the time. I don't want to hurt his feelings. Oh, what celebrity does he look like? Shamar Moore. Shamar Moore. Shamar Moore with some coochie cutters on. Hoochie daddy shorts in them hoochie daddy shorts. Yes, Shamar Moore. Yes, his hair is a little more straight. He's mixed like that. His hair is a little more straight like that. But yes, Shamar Moore. Oh yeah, let me check on the trial. Hold on, let me check on the trial. They should be back. Okay, they're not back yet. But they'll be back soon. Hold on, they'll be back soon. Hold on. Let me just do it like this. Because we are here for the trial. I'm just entertaining you. This is just a little sidebar. We'll call it sidebar. I'm gonna split this story time off and also make it a separate post. I ask that you guys just share it with your homegirls. Because I need to get my YouTube funds back up. So I don't have to sound no pussy. I'm not above it. I'm not above it. But I'd rather not. Shamar is perfection. Yes, ungarnishable wages or not, you'd go with Shamar. Shamar is gorgeous. Thank you, course correction. She said my baby would have been so cute. Yeah, I mean, and he's so sweet. And I like a man with leadership skills, right? So the fact that I met him on Saturday, we had our little Saturday love affair. Sunday, I went home. He sent me that ticket. He had to send me, if I'm on the plane on Thursday, he had to have bought the ticket. He bought the ticket Tuesday, send me flowers to my house on Wednesday. That man was on it. You hear me? He was on it. Let me search him right now and see. Hopefully he don't have new charges. Hold on. Oops. Shoot. No, he's good. He ain't did nothing. And let me just be very clear. The statute of limitations on everything I'm discussing has expired. We are good to go. And he's just a good person. Yes. But baby, if he could get over here, we right here, baby. We gonna get legit. He said he was open to getting legit. He just said he would always do some dodgy shit. That's what he got. He said, babe, he didn't say babe. He's like, I'll always be in some dodgy shit, right? I'll always do some dodgy shit. And I was like, dodgy? Dodgy means like crooked. I'm like, I don't want you to be crooked. Yeah, doesn't people hate that? I hate it didn't work out. I'm not so mad just because he's still not no homeowner. And I'm like, baby, if you gonna flip some shit, flip it into some assets. Get you some mineral rights, get you some ground rights, oil and gas rights, air and space rights. Get you some house mineral rights. That's what I need you to have. Yes, come straight, be straight for me. I'll give you a nice little life. I was gonna 90-day fiance that bitch real good, but once I put two and two together, and mind you, he never told me that that's what he did. I just kind of put two and two together. I said, well, we probably shouldn't be on no TV screen. No, we don't need them people coming back for you. He has one child. He has a child who's like a teenager now. Very cute, very cute. No investment properties, but he travels all the time. I'm like, I need you to not do that. Yeah. It was a real ghetto love affair. The next story time I'm going to pull this out. I'll repost it for Valentine's Day. And then I'm going to post another one is that time my boyfriend called the cops on me. Him.